I'd like to start by explaining what happened when people asked me a few years ago to teach leadership. And I thought, leadership. Okay, let me think back on my 9 years of experience in management. And I thought, you don't teach leadership. You learn it. So you all comfortable? You found your seat? You like the perspective? Change. Change your places. Because as you all know, the only constant thing in life is change. And then we have to look at how we can remain optimistic during that. Okay? I think above all, leadership is about clarity. Clear communication. And if you don't think that you've communicated enough, you probably haven't. Okay? We'll come back to that. I think what do leaders do as well is that they create a right environment. And that environment is optimistic about the future. It's not about being naive, but it's about being encouraging, energizing, finding the emotions that help the people look towards the future. And how do they do it? That's what we're going to look at. And of course, two of the main keys, obviously today we talk a lot about coaching as a leadership function. Because coaching is a methodology of unleashing talent, be it in France, be it across cultures. Leadership is not positions, powers, prestige, or privileges. It's also not about winning at all costs. It's not about being the smartest, and it's not about being the strongest. So what is it really about? It's about the flow of information, about the flow of energy in an organization. So with that, I'd like you to take 2 minutes, again, think, close your eyes, and think for you 6 words, 6 qualities for you that define leadership. Okay, I want you to keep those words with you, keep that piece of paper. I'm going to share with you the words that I think define leadership. I come back to my favorite word, but it's all about communication, communicative. It's all about courage. Because without communication, those tough decisions, those difficult conversations, you need courage sometimes. And you need to be committed. You need to be committed to the business outcome and to everybody, every single person in your department, division, company. And when you are that way, the people that follow you are themselves accountable. If I can count on who you are, what you say, you will make those decisions, you will have the action, then I, because of our relationship, will be accountable to what I bring to our relationship and to the company. The second category is inspirational. Again, a very popular word. What does inspirational mean? Once again, we find that we're going to have energizing, because that's what inspiration does. Motivation is a short-term, present energy. It gets a job done. Inspiration lights a fire. It's in the heart. And even if you change that leader, the inspiration remains. Whereas motivation is extrinsic. It comes from one person. So a real leader, his leadership or her leadership, is felt through the energy, through the emotions, regulating those emotions, making those emotions as positive as possible and as realistic as possible, and with empathy. And empathy doesn't just mean being able to be in somebody else's shoes. It means being able to look at the world from their perspective, to take off your lenses and put on theirs. And with that emotion, then you can automatically make them invested, and I'd even like to change that word to engaged, because once again, you have a relationship. They become engaged because they know you care. Okay, so what is leadership about? Simply enough, a summary, meeting those challenges, I often say with head, making those changes with courage, and all of that with compassion. Leaders don't have egos. Come off it. Leaders have to have an ego, okay? But they don't have to be egomaniacs. And I think that's the difference. So as an example of a leader without an egomaniac attitude, he or she simply says, if anything goes bad, I did it. If anything goes semi-good, we did it. If anything goes really good, then you did it. And it's transferring that energy, transferring that power towards the people who lead you, which once again becomes inspirational and energizing. So let's look at some knowledge. First of all, a manager. A manager becomes a manager because the organization decides that he or she will be a manager. And they've worked their way through knowledge and the commitment, etc. And their job is to understand how to communicate to other people what needs to be understood to do their job well. Their role, I like to say, is a classical artist because they know the technique. When you look at a landscape, you see the landscape, you're up close, you understand the landscape, you step back, you see a landscape. They know how to paint the picture. They also spend a lot of time with a tape measure. They measure profit, loss, qualities, capacities, assessments. That's part of their job. They're also a bit of a traffic cop, okay, because it has to run smoothly. And this word here, hindsight, is very much what went wrong. Managers talk about how to solve problems, okay? And you need to be a manager in order to be a leader. So as a leader, this is when the transition goes from what needs to be done today as to what needs to be done for tomorrow, the future. How do I align these people? And that's where I like this idea of an impressionist painter, is because when I get up close to his landscape, I'm not quite sure how he or she put everything together. But when I step away, I see how the leader sees the future as an impressionist painting. Okay? Pliers. They have to be able to identify strengths and pull them forward, grow the people around them, identify how that person can contribute better to the company. And the leader needs to be a role model. And we'll look at that in a second when we talk about walking the talk. And foresight is all about the future. Somebody throws you into a position where you're leading geographically dispersed teams or people in Houston and elsewhere, and you're saying, well, I thought I understood how to be a leader, but all of a sudden it's much more difficult. And now I have to feel comfortable questioning myself. What can I change? How can I change in order to energize, find the emotion and the empathy within them? So one way of looking at it is I like the idea of the sculptor, because it was Leonardo da Vinci. Somebody once said to him, "Oh, what a magnificent sculpture." And he quizzically looked and he said, "Excuse me, my job is just to remove the rock." And that's what a global leader does. And that's what makes it challenging. And another example, I add the maestro, the chef d'orchestre, because I had a client coming in from Hungary and I asked him how he felt about being part of the global team. And he looked at me with a lot of emotion and he said, "It's like learning to play the violin in public and wanting so much to be part of the symphony orchestra." So as you look around the world from Houston to Shanghai, wherever your followers are, remind yourself that everybody wants to be part of that symphony orchestra. And if you are the global leader, it's your duty to bring them in and learn how to play the strings, play the percussion, whatever instrument they're playing.